People think building a product is about code and design, but it's really about how everything fits together. Welcome to the Product Lab Conversations. I'm Jason Pax, a product architect and a tech educator. We're here to learn, we're here to build, and we're here to make things that actually work. The lab is open. Welcome back to the lab. I trust you're all doing great. So today I want us to have a gist. Although I'm going to be the only one talking, but I just want us to talk about something. And it's a kind of a thing that I had experienced before, and I know a lot of founders and builders who have experienced the same thing. So I've seen so many founders celebrating the day of their app launch. And talking about app launch, I have an app that is supposed to launch about 2 days ago, but I've been so busy. But probably in the next episode I'll talk more about it. Yeah, it's an amazing app, something really simple and easy, but really interesting. So we've seen founders celebrating their app launch. You know, everybody is excited about the launch day, making plans about the launch day, post on LinkedIn, post on Twitter, post on Instagram, post on every social media, write articles, make videos, they share screenshot, the pop champagne. I haven't really popped champagne on my launch day before. That would have loved to do. I'd love to do that on one of my launches. So there is always a kind of party during launching, which is amazing. But fast forward to 3 months, the whole project is a complete ghost town. No updates, no new features. Some even tend to have features, and some would have registered users but no active users. And what exactly happened? They basically built on a broken foundation. About few years ago, let's say about 4 or 5 years ago, building a product was quite complex, so was selling the product. But these days with AI now, building a product has been extremely easy, super easy, but selling is still one of the biggest challenge that a lot of people, a lot of businesses, a lot of founders and builders struggles with. When you build a product without a proper blueprint, you honestly don't realize it's broken until you try to change something. And this is one of the issues that even I myself have experienced, something of that nature. And as you all know, we all talk about products and how to ensure that you avoid building something that would eventually crash later. And one of the challenges, even aside from active users, the moment you launch, you tend to have a lot of people that jump on your mobile app at that point in time, and when they hit a roadblock, it just becomes an issue, and before you know it, no one is using your product again, and you start bleeding 3 things: time, money, and momentum. And the time, concerning the time, what should take an afternoon update suddenly will just take weeks. And the reason is because the code is just a mess, and it's one of the issues AI tends to create. So every time you fix a bug, you see like 3 new ones, and then you start spending time trying to ensure the product gets back to normal. The second thing is the money. You end up paying something I would call double development. Imagine you've already paid once to build it wrong. Now you have to pay someone else twice as much as what you spent initially to get it all sorted. I have a product, my team have a product on ground that falls in that category. I'm trying to now fix so many errors and put in features like that. And the third part is momentum. Before I talk about momentum, I want to mention something. If you are vibe coding, that is, if you are building an app without writing code using prompt, if you are not a coder, I would recommend you stick to Lovable. Lovable has some sort of built-in systems and structures that can help your product, your platform stay fitted, stay constant, stay okay. But you would have to go for the pro version. So Lovable has the capacity to help and do scaling. But the more you scale, the more expensive the subscription gets. So it's just like trying to build an e-commerce on Shopify. You get to a certain level, you have to keep upgrading and upgrading and upgrading and upgrading. So it's faster. You won't have to worry about broken this or broken that. If anything is broken, Lovable automatically notifies you and gets it resolved, and you're fine. And I think Google now has one. Google AI Studio is also a perfect tool that you could use to build your product without having to worry about any crack. But if you are not using any of those tools, although it doesn't really mean that those tools are perfect, because there would always be little mistakes, but I can guarantee that you can stick to using those products, and it will take you to some certain level where you wouldn't even have to worry about any crashes, at least for the time being. So the top part is the momentum. So this is like the silent killer. As a founder, your energy is your currency. So when you spend months fighting your own product instead of talking to customers, you get exhausted, and that's one of the red flags of being a founder. The moment you lose momentum, the excitement dies and you would give up on the whole thing. So, and aside from the Lovable tools, we have tools like Cursor and Cloud Code and Anti-Gravity. They made it incredibly easy to generate features faster. So you can generate features. It feels amazing. You just like Lovable, but you tend to see how the codes have been structured, how the codes have been arranged. For a coder, it's perfect to use platforms like Lovable. For a coder, platforms like Lovable, the Cloud Code, they are really the best for a coder. It makes our work faster. We put in the necessary prompt. But for someone who is not writing code, just stick to the other platform. But the truth is, I'm not saying, like, I usually let people understand that AI is great. Vibe coding is great, but it's not always the best, because there's always a trap. So AI can generate the entire platform for you, but it doesn't automatically check if the foundation is effective. So if you don't know how to prompt the AI to structure the database properly, or if you don't know how to make tools talk to each other cleanly, honestly, you are just building a massive AI mess. But the truth is, it's going to work. It definitely would work. But in the end, there would always be issues. But one of the interesting things about Lovable is, if there are issues, you get notification. Even if you don't get notification, if you check your Lovable dashboard, you will see them there. Then you see a fix button, then you can easily fix that. But there would always be issues because there is no actual structure. So what do you do if you realize your product foundation is cracked? Now, you have to stop adding new features immediately. That's the first thing you need to avoid doing. You can't put a new feature when the foundation is not actually effective. So the best way and the fastest way is to try to go back into fixing the structures of it. So I've talked about the .md file, the architecture MD file. It's always very, very important to have a structure of how all those things works. And interestingly, I still feel like you really don't need to learn to code before you can build a solid product. Honestly, you don't. I feel like okay, I could recommend an idea. So one of the ideas would be to start with, you can use platforms like Claude or even ChatGPT. So what you're trying to achieve is you're trying to understand how softwares are built. So the best way is to communicate, have a proper communication, like a technical conversation with the AI. And what you are trying to achieve is, how is this thing built? So it's just like the mobile phone. You're trying to make findings. How is the mobile phone built? What are the components? What makes up the mobile, the hardware, the software? That you're using the Android or using the iPhone. How is it made? When you pop in that kind of questions, the AI tends to have enough information to give to you. So that concept is what you would use to build your product. So you ask questions, this is what you want to build. You want to build a travel guide app, for example. So you need to have a thorough conversation with the AI. This is what you want to build. How do you build it? What are the tools that you need to build it? Then you could still go for that. Okay, you are going to be using Lovable, for example, to build your product. You want something that could actually work. So it gives you a heads up, explaining the front end, the back end, the database, the architectural system, explain everything you need to put in place, even down to the security, down to ensuring that your product is capable enough to undo everything. Now, if you can understand all that, take your time. It's not something you could get familiar with within in a day. You still need a few more, at least about 2-3 days, or dedicate a whole week to fully understand what you're trying to build and how to build it properly. So by the time you jump on the Lovable and any other vibe coding tools, you know exactly how to ensure that you build properly. And while you are building, I always recommend that after you already have the proper structure that you want, the next thing is to start on the front end, which is the interface. Start building with the interface. Don't communicate with database. Don't do any backend. Ensure you have a full interface. Then after you have that, you do a proper testing, a proper workflow. Test from the beginning to the end. If a user is to jump on your app, where do they start? Where are they going? Just run all of those flow to ensure that it is accurate, to ensure that it is solid before you start integrating the structure. Now, another interesting thing is, for you to get that proper workflow, you could also have that conversation with the same AI tool where you've been getting the ideas on how to structure it. So it gives you a full idea of what you're building and the key areas where you can ensure a good product. And I've been seeing updates that Apple recently have started rejecting apps that was vibe coded, and I felt like with the recent hacking that happened with Vassell, I felt like they too might want to decide to start doing that. But because they have their own vibe coding tool, they might not want to consider it. I'm sure they would have a way to move around that part. But I feel like now that it's getting to that level, you would need to have a full understanding of how it is built. And truth is, you really don't need to learn to code. You just need to understand how it is being built. You are going to play the role of a product manager, not even the software engineer, a role of the product manager. The tool, the Lovable, the Cloud Code, the Cursor AI, the Anti-Gravity, the Codex, the Google AI Studio, those guys are your development team. One or two, either of them, that's your development team. You are the product manager, and as a product manager, you need to fully understand what you want to do. Because if you tell an AI to build a travel guide app for you, for example, it will build it, but you can't really tell what your platform entails in the back end. You can't really tell. I've seen a lot of people, even there was a recent product that that got my attention one time like that, and the challenge there was it was built with AI, of course. It was marvelous, but of course it has so many bugs, just like most AI tools. But What surprised me was there was no administrative end, like an admin, like a dashboard where you could easily manage the platform as a user. And this dashboard is beyond the lovable dashboard. This is the dashboard where you could manage the platform. And this is something that is very, 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 very important for people to look into. But everybody, the person who built it was just building and building. There was no means of managing it. So these things are things that you can easily get detailed idea from having a proper conversation with the same AI before you go ahead to build anything. So if you're a founder right now and you've been experiencing the challenge, or you want to build something from ground up, you can follow the guide that I just gave. Use any AI to explain the procedure of what you want to build, get enough idea, understand how it is built, understand the kind of API that you need to use, any connection you need to use, any partner you need to get, even down to the levels of requirements and documentation. There are some products you would build that would need you to get approved by some regulatory body before you can even launch your product. Otherwise you'll be fined, and sometimes you might fall into millions of debts, or because you did not follow the necessary procedure. So yeah, I hope I was able to share a few knowledge about AI. I've been talking about AI for a while now, and it's because it's one of the most important things. So you can go to my YouTube channel, the Product Lab by Tosin Parks, to get some practical insights on these things that I'm talking about. And you can check the Product Lab, tosinparks.com/lab, to get full information about the Product Lab. So thank you for listening. See you in the next episode.